Welcome to Book Club for Movies, everybody, for the week of January 11th. I'm Ryan Miller, and
I'm a book club.
was Matt Hamburg.
Time for movies.
And on a show where it is time for movies, where we watch one a week, and you too can also do it. And then email us at podcast@bookclubformovies.com.
Email
However you want, Facebook and Twitter.
Twitter.
We may have a few this week.
Oh, crap.
This week,
I'm really in a mood today, just so you know.
I don't know what's going to happen with this show because
fall apart at the seams.
It's the Favorite Fives show that we do.
Favorite Five.
That we never tell each other ahead of time what movies, like even in the least. I feel like sometimes we watch a movie and you're like, oh, like I can kind of tell by texts or just telepathy whether or not you liked a movie. These shows, I just never know how it's going to go.
Yeah, well, these shows are kind of interesting because I don't know that you and I use the same criteria for this either.
Sure.
So for me, my criterion collection for this is I go with the ones that I not necessarily the movies I like the most, but it's the conversation that came from the movie. Like it's the one where I can go back and I mean typically they're movies that I did enjoy, you know, like as I loved our conversation about Wonder Woman. I actually thought that was a really good conversation. It's not in my favorite five.
Yeah, that's I was gonna say, in fact I have it right here.
It's in your favorite five. It's number one.
The part where we talk about criteria. The movie is not, but knowing that that's kind of where I more just try and choose. Again, it's a favorite five, so I don't even want to call it a top five, but
no, not at all.
I strictly kind of keep it to the movies. Like I like this movie better than this movie or whatever. If discussion was figuring into it, yeah, Wonder Woman would be on my list this year.
Yeah, so it's definitely for me a conversation thing first, but the movie has to also bring something to the table for me. And it can't and when it brings it to the table, I don't want it to be like a stale Big Mac.
I was gonna say again, unlike Wonder Woman.
Underwoman? Underwoman.
That's not even a bad title for that movie. Yes. So I don't even think that's the weirdest part about this list, about this year even. It's been a weird year. Have you heard this?
This seems familiar. The echoes floating.
Speaking of 2020, by the way, not 2021, although
2021 started off with a real bang too, hasn't it? Good gravy.
I can't wait to see what 2021's list is going to look like.
Oh boy.
No. Because we took a big break in there somewhere in the middle, not even at the end of the year, and we did two trilogy shows, and we're disqualifying the movies from the trilogy shows for kind of wildly different reasons. One of them, we did the Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and the third one
World's End.
that I will get the title wrong by a word every single time. The World's.
Yeah, At World's End, I think, is the Pirates of the Caribbean one.
Right. Okay. Is that on the list anywhere? Are we doing it?
No. I don't think we have any depth films.
And I kind of feel like we're disqualifying that trilogy for, again, it's a trilogy show, but also because I feel like that would be unfair to most of the other movies. Like,
yes, yes, that is accurate.
Those movies could be very high on anybody's list. The other trilogy show, I feel like we're disqualifying for wildly different reasons, but the one we did on the prequel movies, the Star Wars prequel movies, so
that would be very low on anybody's list.
Don't look for any of those 6 movies on this show.
Nope.
But this is still a weird list.
They're controversial.
Regardless.
Censor yourself.
Check it out. I'm going to read it. You ready?
All right, I'm checking it.
And again, we only pull from the movies that we did shows on for 2020. So that's where this list is coming from. We have Wonder Woman 1984, The Haunting 1999, His House, The Conjuring, Color Out of Space, Creep Show, Haunt, Drive 1997, Ace in the Hole, Timeline, Bill and Ted Face the Music, The Decline of Western Civilization Part 3, The Man of Tai Chi, The Old Guard, Mars Attacks, Hamilton, All the President's Men, Heathers, Best in Show. That was one I almost also disqualified because I feel like it was more of a Fred Willard show than a Best in Show show.
Best in Show.
But I'll continue. Kroll, Stan and Ollie, With Nail and I, The Invisible Man 2020, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Marriage Story, and Following. So that's the list. Those are the ones that we'll be pulling from for each of our favorite fives this year. We don't know whose is whose, which is which. We're going to find out together.
Together as one.
But before we get there, I tweeted this out, and we did actually have two little Facebookers on it here.
Little Facebookers.
I asked, what are your favorite fives from this weirdo list? And we got two favorite ones, quite possibly. I don't know. The first came exceptionally quickly. Didn't even have to think about it, seems like. And I won't share their full names, but Mr. Tyler of Facebook fame.
Steven?
Did you see? No.
From Aerosmith?
Absolutely not.
We do have some very big famous fans. We are a huge show, guys. So,
and you can tell because the one he chose without, it seems, needing to think about it much at all,
Armageddon.
was Color Out of Space.
Oh,
Color Out of Space. Any thoughts? Should we spoil? That's another thing is I'm not sure is how much do we spoil ahead of time here with our actual lists.
There will be no spoiling. We will continue on with the discussion.
You're not talking about Color Out of Space. That's interesting. The other one was from Ray, who we know and love.
Romano? I don't like him very much, though. He's not very funny.
Did you see his last Netflix special?
I don't like him very much, so I would not watch that.
I agree. I didn't attach myself to the show that much, although the documentary Exporting Raymond is amazing, worth a watch.
I hear Ray Romano, and I immediately think of Parmesan-style cheeses.
Okay, that's fine.
Parmigiano Romano.
But also, no, it's not. It's not. His last Netflix special was actually pretty fun. It's the most I've laughed at his stuff.
Okay, we'll agree to disagree on watching that ever.
But Ray, friend of the show, Ray, says Kroll.
That's a good one.
Said it was a big part of his youth. And I admitted there's going to be, as always is with these lists, several moments where I'm like, and then I had to do this. I'm going to talk about Kroll. Let's put it that way.
All right.
Okay.
I cannot in any way say Kroll is not a favorite movie that we watched last year. It is not necessarily on my list, but it might be. Okay, no spoilies.
I appreciate the responses in
event. That's rad. Thank you guys so much for responding. Appreciate that. That's cool.
All very valid and valuable choices that may or may not come up during the show, it appears. So
do we have
before maybe we get to that list, do you want to do the honorable mentions, like the kind of bottom 5 of the top 10? Because my top 10 came together in under a minute.
My top 5 actually came together in about 3 minutes.
Okay, all right. I basically just went through and took every movie that, like, if I could have a list, would I put it on there? And it was exactly 10 by the time I was done. So
yeah, I pulled off like 7 movies, I think, right off the bat, and then I was able to pare that down pretty quickly. Okay. The ones that I will call out are the 2 that I will give credence to at all. Everything else was garbage.
How long did it take you to cut those 2? So you got your 7 pretty easy. How long did it take it to 5?
Yeah, it was probably 2-3 minutes. I really
still not bad.
It wasn't. No, this was actually a pretty quick year though for me. I actually the 2 that I'll call out were Heathers, which I loved that. I love that movie, but I loved like that. That's another one where getting to introduce that to people is just one of those things that like it tickles me when people haven't seen that, because it was such a staple for me in high school, like and just prior to, and then knowing where so many of those people go in their lives and the different things they come into. So I loved that discussion. That was fun to talk about. It was fun to get into the darkness of it, and then the weird endings that kind of occurred and all that.
Fun watching me try and parse it out for the first time.
It was a good time.
Before we move on though, also my number 7 that I cut was Heathers. Yeah. And I love Heathers for it being such a kind of serious. Okay, so it basically takes the entire movie being incredibly not serious about teenage suicide to say that teenage suicide is very serious, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love how it does that. Like that's pretty singular. But there was just something about it that didn't stick with me as kind of, I think, which isn't true in comparison, I guess, to the rest. It just didn't seem to stick with me as much. So.
Sure. The other one was I think this was this kind of speaks a little bit to where I come from in general, but Hamilton. I loved that movie. I love that story. I love the discussion around it. I love the live version, that it's a stage production and that it's a musical. These are all things that I enjoy a great deal. But again, it was no Greatest Showman. Not hey, not enough Jackman to me.
I mean, you could say that about any movie. I feel like it's not fair.
I'm going to say that literally about every movie on my list.
Hamilton, also a top 10 that I cut, but I cut it a little bit earlier. It seems like if that was your faux number 6-ish.
It was.
Okay.
It was the one. I will. When we start, I will tell you the one that it beat out, or the one that beat it out.
Okay, that's the other thing we haven't touched on yet. Are you going kind of in order? Are you bottom 5 to top?
I am going to go 5 to 1.
Oh wow, interesting. Okay, I feel like you haven't done that yet. Even
I don't know.
Have you done that before?
I don't think so. I think most of the time, because they kind of all fell into a spot. These ones actually, I was able to break them down and go, oh, that's kind of the order. Like that's my order.
I will say I think I had an easier time on my top 5 this year than any year previous. How many times have we done this? Is this third
3?
time? Okay.
3, yeah.
I also cut Hamilton, and I feel like it was kind of a mercy cut in a way. You're right. It's a fantastic play.
Yeah.
And I'm not the expert here, but I did enjoy it immensely, and I feel like I didn't understand it immensely, like in a good way, that there's so much more to dig into that I could see. Like there was something I read up on later, and this is the widest thing to give you any inclination.
I mean, that's
impression.
Basically the show that we do.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing about that show that we did. I love that we called out how much we liked King George, who has like the widest material in the entire thing on purpose. And we're like, that guy wasn't too bad. It was kind of fun, huh?
We are the problem.
No, the thing I read, though, was how so many different styles of hip hop are used throughout and how they're attached to characters in different ways. Like this one kind of has the 90s vibe about it, and this one has a later era or even just regional type differences. Again, I'm not so well versed in hip hop, and not surprised at all that it would have been done with that level of technique. But yes, I think I cut it because on its cinematic merits, I don't know that it's doing anything wildly amazing. And that stage is amazing.
Yeah.
But like as far as like filming a play, it just, you can see how it kind of maybe doesn't fit with.
If we were doing a show about that was focused around plays, that's easily up there, right? Yeah, okay, no question. But this is a movie show, and while that is technically a movie, it's also not. So it's.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
It's the way it's the only way I was ever going to see it, because I will never ever be able to afford tickets to that show. Also
that, yeah. And then Hamilton actually kept company with 2 other quick cuts for me.
Drive, 1997.
That was an even quicker cut. That did not make the top 10.
That was an even quicker cut.
I know what I'm doing around here. I couldn't
let me guess.
Justify
that. Let me take a guess.
Okay. These are the number 10 and 9 that I cut.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Legitimate. Marriage Story?
No.
Okay, Man of Tai Chi.
No, that was another quick cut.
Dang. The other one I was going to guess is All the President's Men.
I feel like, and listen to our show, I feel like that probably should have been higher, but I just had a hard time connecting with it. Like I know why it's a classic and why it's revered so much,
but it just,
but I didn't, I couldn't, I don't
know. Nope, not that was very quickly. I'll tell you this before you give me your 9 and 10. I'll tell you this.
Okay.
All the President's Men, Haunt.
I feel like
Wonder Woman.
I think we're going too specific. This is what I wanted to avoid with talking about our honorable
mentions. And Once
mentions.
Upon a Time in Hollywood were all immediately gone. Like they didn't even touch. They weren't even questions. They were like.
I feel like you're gonna know process of elimination now. Just what our favorite 5 are. No, number 10 was Kroll.
Sure.
Like, I get it's a cult classic. I kind of think it's more than that. Like, we talked about how beautiful some of the mats are and the design of that film. Yes, it's wild in general. But like I jive with Ray on this one. Like, I see what he saw in it, and I could like I said, when I went through, I was like, which ones, if I could, would I have in my top 5? I would put Kroll there, but that's the cut that I have every year. I feel like, where I'm like, me, the serious film person, can't possibly elevate Kroll to the level of favorite 5. This is the cut that I hate myself for every year.
Sure.
Like, oh, you pedantic.
The one that I definitely hate myself for this year is Bill and Ted.
And that's my number 9.
Yeah, I for as much as I love that movie and that like, I think it was terrific, and it did everything it had to do, and it did it really, really well for what it was. I can't not for this.
I rewatched it. I have the soundtrack. I've listened to the soundtrack. I love that final song that it became. And I know it's such a simple, if that's not written by Weezer, I don't know what is in that movie, but it's just a chord progression on chord progression, but it does it. And it reminds me of the film, and I love it. Same thing about the film. You're right. It's perfect. I think I said there's not a false note in it, and I still believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But I get, you know what it is? It's this year's Shazam.
I understand that. I think
I get it. I love it.
For my issue with it is that it's we had 2 Keanus on here, and he didn't have facial hair in that one, and I just can't get behind older Keanu with no facial hair. It's just weird.
Hey, everybody needs to justify it in some way. My number 6 that I had to cut, and maybe we're getting into it now. I'm curious what your number 5 will be. So. And I think I cut it because it was kind of a right place, right time thing. I still think it's a fantastic movie, and I showed it to my family after the fact, so I watched it twice in pretty rapid succession, and they loved it also.
The Decline of Western Civilization.
No. But it came at a time where I was kind of, again, seeing all of the people like getting mad at celebrities and entertainers for expressing their opinions, why that bugs me so often is all at the same time, I'm sure, binge watching their favorite show or something like that. Like
sure.
The amount of dismissal that goes on for entertainers and all that. So Stan and Ollie was probably the hardest cut I had to make, because here comes this movie that kind of gave me something to show to people like, hey, do you have a hard time appreciating entertainers and what they go through and why they go through it, which is nobody knows. Like, they barely know. They're just driven for some reason to do this thing and to make you happy. And then they have an opinion, and you crap all over them. Like, watch this movie. Look at these guys. And it has fantastic performances by John C. Reilly and gosh dang it, Michael Caine.
That would have been an interesting.
No, but that's his best impression. Come on, Steve Coogan. Good gosh,
Steve Coogan. Thank you.
Not even his best impression, but the one he's known for. Like,
I was struggling with his name. Also, I always think Hamlet too, and then I
was
almost
a hard
said
cut.
Hamilton too, which would have been very different.
That was the hardest cut. Stan and Ollie. So we're to the top 5. Everybody, our favorite. Sorry, again, I said top 5. Our favorite 5s.
Yes.
And I feel like I've gone just most recently and told you my ones that I had to cut. So, Matt, your number 5.
My number 5. Number 5. I wish we had like a thing here that was like number 5.
I'm recently listening to the Comedy Bang Bang Best ofs, and they have the ones
5.
they use. Yeah, they're just ones that he pulled off the internet, and they didn't go past 10. So like all the 15 is like 1 5.
I love it.
Anyways,
it makes me giggle. My number 5, yet another one in an introductory film. Actually, I think all of these on my list are going to be for you. And
okay. I was like, what do you mean introductory film? Is this like some of the educational shorts from the 50s? We didn't watch.
Yes, that's right. It's here's how your beef is made. Number 5 for me is The Conjuring.
That's my number 5.
Hey! that number 1, that conversation was just wonderful. Like, that was a stellar discussion. Yeah, I mean that movie, it's for all intents and purposes super simple story, haunted house story, told in the best way possible. You know, like that you've got a stacked cast. You've got amazing cinematography in that flick, really good tension, really good knowledge of how to build tension. James Wan maybe at his best. Great flick. Love that. Yeah, top.
Really, James Wan maybe. So you would put The Conjuring above Conjuring 2, Insidious, Saws, even maybe?
Yeah, I like Saw, but I mean the Conjuring 2 might be better than The Conjuring. I think we
did mention that real quick.
Yeah, but I think those are both better movies than Saw. I think Saw still does a great job, and it follows suit with what The Conjuring does. It's a lot of I'm going to tell you, but I'm not going to show you, like a lot more for again, it's one of those movies that people think I know I mentioned this while we talked about this. It's similar in so many respects to Texas Chainsaw. For all the gore people think are in the movie, it's not as gory as the mythos around it. The mythos makes it sound like you are watching somebody like just constantly being gored in half, and we're just pulling guts out and throwing them everywhere, and that's not at all the case.
And The Conjuring even less so. Like,
yeah.
To get it back to that, it is so well made for what it is. It's so good at what it does too. That's a movie that, and I don't think we mentioned this on the show, that is rated R for no reason other than the people that watched it went, scary, too scary.
I'm afraid.
I think they made a statement that was like, this is rated R and there's nothing you can cut to fix that. We're sorry, or something like that. Like it's just, and it is, it's not gory. Nope. It's just so good at being frightening and unsettling, and all the while still following a really good story. A really well put together and paced story. And hopefully it all comes together right here, because I had to cut the show while the garage door opened. So
action. The
Conjuring, our number 5 of 2020.
Number 5
with good reason. Yeah, now we're just doing the I could easily take the soundbite and put it in there, but we're just going to recreate it with our own vocal acuity.
Number 4.
Number 4. I will go. Thank you
very
much.
Yes, volleyball to you.
Ace in the... No, that's a different... We'll do that. I'm sure we'll get there. Ace in the Hole.
Oh, Ace in the Hole.
Because I know film. Old movie. Kirk Douglas.
Kirky.
No, I super enjoyed. Obviously, it's a great film. This is one of those where you feel stupid for saying that, but you were right again on this one. I feel like, and everybody else ever since whenever it came out in 1930, whatever. You know, it's the first movie ever made. Turns out,
it's like Kirk Douglas has been around that long. They were like, we're gonna make Spartacus in real time, where Kirky was Spartacus.
Ace in the Hole was great. I'm sure it should probably be like number 1 on my list, according to, AFI Citizen Kane Institute of Cinematology. I don't know, but it's a very good, just biting indictment of all that stuff, of the media, of the audience, of, in a way that's almost quaint nowadays. I feel like we had a talk about that, but in a way that still holds water, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that movie is so relevant right now. It's insane to me how the commentary in that movie was obviously relevant then, but the fact that it holds up not only with the story, and that you can legitimately right now today that exists. It's yeah. I mean, definitely.
And this is several months ago that we did this show.
We are basically The Simpsons.
It just keeps getting more and more relevant. It seems as time goes on. Unfortunately,
our prescience is precious.
And we talked about how I feel like, I think I've compared it to 12 Angry Men, where Sidney Lumet kind of, probably didn't have a law degree, but because he understood people so well, that movie comes out like a freaking fortune ball. They're not even called fortune balls.
A crystal ball?
Crystal ball, thank you.
I like fortune ball better.
It's hard to see the past from where I am. So yeah, Ace in the Hole. I can't imagine that's also your number 4, but I will be curious to see if it made it on those. I would also be, just if everything matched up from here on out. That'd be great.
It would
save
be
us a lot of time.
Our number 4s will definitely diverge.
Okay.
Because my number 4, I stuck with the horror group here. Color Out of Space.
I knew it was going to show
Look,
up. I knew it.
That movie is just so good. It's so much fun. It's so like it's great Nick Cage without him going overboard until he finally gets to go overboard.
I was gonna say, okay.
He's like, I mean, I love that we get a Nick Cage at the very beginning of the movie. It's like, there are some Nick Cage movies where you go into it and go, okay, it's Nick Cage, start to finish. Like there's something off about him, no matter what.
I don't know what you mean. Okay, that's what okay, I was going to say, because he's an accomplished dramatic actor, right? Like you can watch Nick Cage movies where he's a normal person just about the entire time and does a great job.
Yes, but there's always something off. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
But this one, I love this. I love this movie. Also, huge fan of this movie for one very, very specific reason, and I think that anybody who's not a fan of this is just don't watch movies anymore. If it's like a TV show, also when TV shows do this, doesn't happen very often, but movies, when they say the name of the movie in the movie,
you're right.
Yeah, right at the very end. Gotta love that.
I just moved it up. It's actually my number 1. It's my number 1.
See, there we go. Haha, ace in the hole. You suck. You should have said, aha, it's an ace in the hole. Kirk Douglas.
And on that AFI list, it's like Ace in the Hole, Color Out of Space. Like they switch places pretty much every year. I think is what happens.
Citizen Kane is like back at number 5. No, I love that. It was a fun discussion to talk about what that movie did have going for it, and the things that did land for you and what didn't. It was, and I liked it. I had a lot of fun with it. It's a bizarre movie, and it was a bizarre movie to talk about. And it's cool, you know, it was a really solid adaptation of a story that I look forward to seeing more from Nicolas Cage and everybody else.
Sure, yeah. Let's see what that guy does in the future.
Could be anything.
Color Out of Space, you know, the weirdest thing is I still don't know necessarily where I land on that film, I don't think.
I don't know that you ever will.
Maybe I won't. Maybe that's it. I mean, looking back, certainly I want to say I watched it way too soon before we recorded, as I do. And it is, I guess to its credit, arresting, you know, like it doesn't leave you very quickly. I'm just still, I don't know where I land with the, you know, the movie I thought about, and you're going to hate this, and I apologize ahead of time, but the movie
Suicide Squad.
Oh, that's good. It's good. No, the Human Centipede, and I've never seen it, but I know the conversation around that, and probably the reason there are probably several reasons I haven't and probably will never see that movie, but it's just like, what does it add to the discussion, to any discussion? And I don't think The Color Out of Space is anywhere near that, but that's I think where I'm coming from. Like that's the thing I'm trying to wrestle with. Like, what does this add? Why? And I just don't have a good answer for it yet. I know it's out there. Let's put it that way. I know the answer is out there. I don't have it yet.
The Human Centipede is not a good movie. That's the thing. It's like for all that's built up around it, that I think is the biggest thing that goes against it, is that it's another movie with a mythos around it, and a mythos that let them build 3 friggin' movies, or if not more. But it's the problem is the movie itself is just not good. It's filmed flatly. It's not acted very well. It's the best you're gonna get from a kind of low-end horror movie where they had more of a budget and a story than others, but it's not well done. And just to note, the entire concept of that is obviously very awful, but one person kind of gets out of that in with the least damage, and then you've got the person with like the worst damage, and then the person that's like, it's kind of the same. Like you've got 2 people that end like the second and third part of that segment of Centipede, not so good. But the first person, I mean, yeah, the worst part is you got somebody's lips glued to your butt.
I mean, it has given us an endless amount of discussion and memes, and in fact, just for Christmas, I saw. Have you seen the human the Human Centipede Christmas card going around?
I have not.
It's good. Look that one up.
love
So
it.
if anything, I guess it gave us that. Number 3. I think it's me, right? We just did both our number 4s.
With a number 4s for both of us.
Did we? What was your number 4?
No, mine was Color Out of Space. Well,
yes, right. My number 3 was His House.
my number 3 was His House.
Hey! That Color Out of Space, another wrench in the works. His House, just another wiener, I should point out.
Yes.
Like how many of these enter the favorite 5 every year is kind of amazing. That maybe I like horror movies, Matt.
I don't. I feel like I might be rubbing off on you in the appropriate
Again.
way.
So His House, though, is like straight up my alley. Like I'll mention The Conjuring and The Other Wiener, where that was kind of just a good movie, I feel like, regardless. His House is kind of my good movie. You know, it's got subtext galore.
Right.
You know, it's got hidden meaning. It's got like the folk story that they created around if I could pull the name of that witch would be great. I don't think I can. Napeth. I don't know.
Nathaniel.
The folk legends that they create around that, there's no one-to-one. That's not a Sudanese legend. Like it's bits and pieces of many different things, and it compiles into not only just really good storytelling, horror storytelling, really good subtext, really good way to talk about immigration and what we do, what they do, what they go through, you know, and maybe that's more of what I'm getting at. It's not told from our point of view. It's told from their point of view with 2 amazing performances of that point of view. And from a first-ish time filmmaker that freaking knocked it out of the park somehow.
Yeah.
It's just so well acted and incredibly competent and designed around that theme. It's good stuff.
It's what pretentious horror fans like to refer to as elevated horror.
Sure.
Which is pretentious as hell, but yeah, it's a good description of it, right? Like, I mean, this is a top horror flick, man. It's maybe was the best horror film that came out last year. It'd be really hard to find something that stood up to the quality that you got with this in terms of all the things that you mentioned, the acting, the story, the mythology they put around it, the folklore, the point of view, you know, it's
right.
Yeah.
It's funny that we got through that entire conversation without mentioning Get Out, actually. I feel like the film that maybe coined or elicited the phrase elevated horror, you know?
Oh, no. Elevated horror, I would say that was even before Get Out. The one that comes to mind first for that is The Witch. The Vivitch.
Oh, sure. Actually, yeah. I guess that makes sense. I mean, and I'm not even putting His House on the level. I haven't seen The Vivitch, but I'm not putting His House on the level of Get Out even, but...
Oh yeah, I actually probably would. I mean, I think those are both.
I would put it in the same category, but not on the same level. Like,
I think they are both for the stories they're telling. Yeah, and for I have a hard time thinking they are not.
Not super far away. I'm just saying, Get Out, I feel like was an even more successful and better made version.
Well,
of that.
I mean, that's because it had a whole bunch of white people in it.
that's why I identified. Sure.
Yeah, Bradley. It had Bradley Whitford in it. So.
Oh man, Get Out, making me feel bad to this day and forever. His House is a great movie.
It was a great.
A worthy number 3. Now I don't know who goes because we both just had the same number 3. Why don't you?
Because you picked your number 3.
Okay, so we're getting down to it.
My number 2 for the year, With Nil and I.
It's my number 2. Man.
We did not plan this out. I mean that was again, this is a movie that comes from a real specific point in my life, a real specific time, but also the entire context around it, the actors in it, the whole story is just so perfect, and it's one of these movies that is a masterpiece at what it is, at what it does. I mean, Richard E. Grant just nope. Sorry, everybody else fails and pales in comparison.
It's hard to see anybody else in that role doing that. He is with Nil.
That movie can't be made again. Like there is no no remaking that. There's no way to retell that story and make it work with new actors. It just nope. I don't care who you are. You're not Richard Grant.
And I would even say back then, like this is a movie that is so good for everything it isn't. Like it wasn't made. It took place in the 60s, I think, right?
Yes.
I want to say 69 or something like that. And it was not made in the 60s, but you couldn't have told me that, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know that even then I would have believed somebody could have so well recreated that time period and just everything about it, even in the 70s. But yeah, to think about somebody doing that now is even more mind blowing. It's seamless.
Yeah, the look of it, the style behind it. I mean, everything. That movie just it lands. Everything in that movie lands.
And I don't think you realize how weird it is that okay. Speaking to myself, that it's my number 2, because if you listen to that show, I had a hard time connecting with it. It's darn near indecipherable for the beginning. And then again, when Del Preston makes an appearance, I can't remember his character's name in that movie. Wayne's World.
I did just watch Wayne's World 2 the other night, though, by the way.
But to not understand, I feel like so much of it, and yeah, it took on more meaning when I did the whole thing afterwards, where I kind of look stuff up and see where it did come from and trivia about it and all that. But the fact that while I'm compiling my favorite 5 and With Nail just will not go away is kind of crazy for how I didn't think it would be when we watched that movie and did that show. But yeah, looking back, I can't think of another thing like it. Anywhere.
I truly look forward to you rewatching that at some point and getting like, because you're gonna you know it's that you know what you're getting into, and so now you can focus a little more on more of the details that kind of fill out. And yeah, it's gonna be, that's one that I think you will get value out of rewatch.
Yeah,
for sure.
Wow, so we've already had more corroboration on our favorite 5 than ever before, I feel like.
I am going to skip ahead here, and I'm going to do my number 1.
We're on our number 1s, I think.
I am, but I'm going to go first.
Oh, okay.
Because my number 1 was your...
I'm pretty sure we diverge on number 1 here.
Number 4.
Oh.
Ace in the Hole.
Ace in the Hole. Look at you film scholar.
I mean, you call it that, but that was one where it was something that I'd been wanting to do on the show. I'd been wanting for you to watch, especially because
you gave me that movie. It's the only movie you've given me. Let's put it that way. I want to say, like, literally gave me to watch.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think so.
And again, that was, you know, we've already touched on it with what you talked about, but. The movie is to me, I don't know that we watched a better, more perfectly well-rounded tale than Ace in the Hole this year.
That's actually a good way. Well-rounded is perfect, because that movie does this kind of escalation to denouement, if I will.
and I will let you.
Now who's in film school?
Still you.
It does it so well. Again, kind of without any seams or jumps. It feels like that by the end, you've kind of just been slowly worked into this position. And I think we talked about this on the show about like how much do we think the audience went with it, or for how long do we think the audience went with Kirk Douglas and his character until they were like, whoa, I'm rooting for the incredible bad guy right now.
Right.
You know, like it does that so well. That well-rounded, that fits that perfectly. Yeah. That is a beautiful ball of film, as they say.
And they do say that. Many people.
A sphere of cinematic quality. Can't even think of enough big words to finish a sentence like that.
Denouement. And when we talk about sphere, we do talk about Dustin Hoffman and Sharon Stone.
And that's my number 1. Sphere.
Sphere. It's not even on our list.
We didn't watch it. Number 1.
Who else was in that? Was it? It was.
Oh, Samuel Jackson.
Was it Sam Jackson?
Stone. You know,
and Dustin Hoffman.
Those are the big names, and all of the bit players. Every single one, I feel like we're gonna be like, oh yeah. You know, every last one of them, and I can't remember.
I haven't seen that
name.
Probably since the theater, man.
You know what? Whatever. Let's build the suspense to number 1 right here, and go through the cast of Sphere real quick.
Yeah. Hit me with our Michael Crichtonisms.
Well, you called out Dustin Hoffman, of course.
Of course.
Sharon Stone, Samuel L. Jackson. Are you ready? This doesn't really go in a good order, I feel like, this year, but I'll do the standouts. I don't recognize Peter Coyote.
Oh,
or
really?
Peter Coyote.
Yeah, as he is off want to be called.
But you're gonna recognize Liev Schreiber,
Oh, sure.
Queen Latifah.
Right, I forgot she was in that. Obviously.
You may not recognize this one, and I didn't know. Just looking at it right now, Huey Lewis.
But where were the news?
And okay, that might be all. But
Heward.
Still, think about all those people. Think about them.
I can't get Liev Schreiber and Queen Latifah out of my head now.
Oh shoot, that's it. There's a few more, but they're like they're not biggies, and they probably only show up for a few minutes. Like Huey Lewis, the helicopter pilot.
Did he fly a Huey helicopter?
Oh man, if he did, this movie, we're doing a show on it.
I wonder if they say the word sphere in that movie. No, it's a bubble.
It cannot be our number one, man. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Or our number one. It's not even our number one. It cannot be my number one.
Okay.
You did mention my number one already.
Oh my gosh. The Color Out of Space.
No, it wasn't in your top 5. It was in your guesses for my quick cuts, though it didn't even make the top 10. You thought this might be one of them.
Oh, Man of Tai Chi.
No, but that was Marriage Story. Come on.
As soon as that came out of my mouth at the beginning of the show and you said no, I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's on his list.
Yes, it was in the round when I went through and got my 10. Of course, it stayed until my 5. I think I just always knew it was my number one too. Like I didn't have to really decide. With Nail was a surprise, but Marriage Story was kind of in. Like when we recorded, I don't know that I can fully voice why it's an incredibly human story. It's a personal story, right? From an incredibly accomplished cinematic storyteller. In fact, you sent me a great clip. I forget if it's all the videos that it's like GQ or Vanity Fair or something like that.
Yeah.
Noah Baumbach does an anatomy of a scene,
yes.
And kind of goes through.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic video, but also it perfectly illustrates why I think movies like that stay with me. It's all that stuff that even I, of course, that's...
Even I!
Yes, I hate myself.
The genius, along with you, pitiful little monkey butts.
The one that like notices some of that stuff, and let's put it this way, spent 4 years of his life with somebody telling me to notice that type of stuff when I don't. I feel like that's why things like this stay with people and with me and what elevates it. And Marriage Story still had a very specific kind of theme and
about marriage. It's a story.
Yeah, well, a construction, I'm trying to say. And it comes from, I think, also my favorite line. In fact, if this was based on discussion, this might have been my number 2 discussion that we had of the year, below Wonder Woman, just for the line that we pulled. It might have been from an IMDb bad trivia where they walk in and out of rooms.
They do. It's a movie
and
with
I was
so
like,
many rooms.
Almost unbelieving. Like, okay, they walk in and out of rooms, so it's a stage play. Is that what's going on? And then the more we talked about it, I'm pretty sure you convinced me in the show. I'm like, oh shoot, they're actually this is good trivia. That's the kind of stuff that. It's not the kind that's like objectively, obviously that doesn't exist, like objectively good. It's the kind of stuff that, I have an opinion, I have a theme, I have a construction, and I'm going to execute on it perfectly. Like
sure.
Marriage Story, I think for all that and for where that story ends up, for the performances in there, of course, there's that big yelling argument. There's, we've recently talked about how you think maybe the performance from
Scarlett
in
JoJo
might be better than this one. I think I could
absolutely.
switch days, depending. I think it's still so good in this one regardless. Adam
Sure.
Driver is crazy. But then also the bit players, Alan Alda, freaking Julie Haggerty. Like, I want to see Julie Haggerty's character in an entire movie. I know it doesn't work.
I mean, I just like Julie Haggerty, honestly.
But maybe that's just it. Yeah, I don't know.
She's fun to watch.
Marriage Story just absolutely did it. Another one that I forced my wife to watch. Again, sounds so weird. Immediately afterwards.
That's a weird marriage story.
It's a good movie.
I admit it was one that came off the list pretty quickly for me. But probably not for the reasons you'd think. Because I agree with you on almost everything that you said. And I think back to the conversation that we had and talking about how it felt very stage play for so much of it and the way it filmed it. Like it felt very, very much in that vein. But there was, when I started compiling this list, which I mean, again, you put that movie against against at least 2 of the other
Right.
movies on my list, and it's like, yeah, those are garbage films. Like Conjuring and Color Out of Space are garbage. They're like, I love James Wan.
That's why
He's
it's
not Noah Baumbach.
favorite 5. Yeah.
But that's I think it is that I like that movie a great deal, I think, but I don't love it, and it didn't stick with me in the way that I think I wanted it to. And the one that I actually will compare it to is my favorite movie of last year, which was Ghost Story. That movie has stuck with me since we watched it. Like,
Sure.
that movie hit emotionally on so many levels. And I think where Marriage Story kind of falters for me a little bit is that it does feel, and this is so stupid. I'm so dumb. I'm like,
Wait to hear
I'm so dumb. It's that
denouement.
it was the denouement. It just was not
No.
fulfilling. No, it's that for the great performances and the great direction and the story and all that, there was something that felt overly forced about it for me.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And-
are you kidding?
And
Yeah,
I think that turns me off to putting that on my list for sure. Where I just, all the other movies on my list, that's something I don't feel even the slightest amount on any of these. And I think that when you have those kind of dramas and melodramas, there's a balance to it. And Baumbach, again, credit, man. He directed the hell out of the movie, and the performances are very, very good. But that's one where when we I just rewatched Jojo Rabbit, and I will absolutely compare the apples and the oranges here, but I'm gonna take Scarlett Johansson's performance in Jojo Rabbit so much stronger because, to a degree, the overall purpose and everything behind her character and what's going on is much heavier and is a much greater. Jojo Rabbit, for being a quote unquote comedy, is a melodrama. Like, it's melodramatic in so many ways, but it rides a line so well. And maybe that's just Taika Waititi doing what he does, and like it's that issue. I don't know.
It's apples oranges too. Like, it's so easy to love something that makes you smile the entire time. Especially when it's Hitler, and you're like, what?
When Hitler makes you smile.
There are numerous times during Marriage Story where you don't feel
smiled
good
because of Hitler. Oh,
you frown because of Hitler, and it's Adam Driver's character, which I won't even talk about how I think it's a pretty well told story from the point of view of a guy that I think favors Scarlett's character, but it's a very talky movie, right? Like,
I don't think there's a question there that Adam Driver is definitely. I mean, throughout the movie, I don't know that there's a question that he is not in the wrong. He is definitely the problem in that relationship.
No, I feel like the movie wouldn't work if there couldn't be. No, if you couldn't see it both ways to some extent. But
the extent that they build off of, like, and the way Baumbach films it, like, yeah, no, Driver is the problem. Like, that character is the problem.
Also, if Noah Baumbach makes a movie where Driver isn't the problem and Driver is his analog, like, that movie doesn't go anywhere in my opinion.
Agreed.
It's a very talking movie, like, and we've talked about this with the before sunrise sunset stuff.
Yes, like, amazing. Love
it
those.
Treads a line where if it's 1 degree off, it's like the most like nothing movie, and it's no surprise that. And sorry,
sure.
I'm not explaining nothing movie. It's very annoying, or it's very pretentious, like you said, or whatever.
Well,
like,
yeah. You 1 degree too far, you get pretentious. 1 degree the other direction, and you get a melodrama that's, just flat in every way.
And I don't want to even use melodrama as a negative, but you're right. That is kind of the playground that it's playing in.
It gets, what it gets? It gets, if you goes 1 degree to the other direction, it becomes soap operatic.
Soap operatic, sure, insufferable, even in a way. It's no surprise to me that 1 degree can be all about preference or flavor. Like, it didn't land for you. Like, it's the flickering light all over again for an entire movie or something like that. Like, I am not surprised in the least. I just think it hit me. Like it did
totally.
it for me. So
yeah, I absolutely see why. There's no question about why it's like that movie deserves all the acclaim it got. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it does. It just didn't land for me in that way.
Right. Yeah. And I don't blame you. Look at us.
Well, we are, it's no Suicide Squad.
Jonathan Blade, have you noticed the veiled references?
I can't wait to have to talk about Suicide Squad again, but then have to differentiate between the Suicide Squads. That's going to be a delight.
For the other couple viewers of the show, again, audio mediums, we did get a response to our Wonder Woman, a little Twitter note just from our old friend Jonathan Blade on Twitter. It says, "It's not a good feeling to hear someone whose opinion you value say that they enjoyed Suicide Squad." So, and
I am proving to you why you should not value me. I am not even a Great Value brand. I am the store version of Great Value, which is the store version of like the regular stuff. I'm the
Walmart store version.
I'm the generic,
but still a great value. It says it right on there.
It's not though. But
thanks for tweeting in all the same.
Yes, thank you. I am sorry. I can't help it. These movies, I like superheroes and I just want them to be fun. I want to like it.
And my response being, I die inside a little every time. So
I can't help. Look, you guys say all you want. Jai Courtney rocks in that flick.
That's like the perfect encapsulation too of this actor who I've heard you say you dislike and who I know I dislike and can't think of a single movie. Like the movie, in fact, I'll even say it. I kind of like him in this movie because he fits, like it's so whatever.
I love that he got recast too, and he's coming back.
I feel like if we do this too long, we're going to end up doing a show on Suicide Squad and nobody wants it. As easy as that would make the favorite 5 at the end of the year. I
don't know that it would actually
should do it
because that would be pulling teeth for at least you.
So if you want, again, a recap for my favorite 5, I went from The Conjuring, Ace in the Hole, to His House, to With Nail and I, With a Bullet, and Marriage Story for my number 1. And Matt?
I followed suit with The Conjuring, The Color Out of Space, His House, With Nail and I, and Ace in the Hole.
Wow. Again, all matched up. Yeah. Maybe just as the years go on, we match up more and more. Our cinematic cycles are syncing, Matthew.
I am so happy that you've said that because I have got to get padded up.
So get padded up this year with Book Club for Movies. We've got another whole bunch of things planned. I said, hopefully.
Oh no, I actually have a bunch of flicks in the hopper this year. Halloween, boy, this year is gonna be pretty good. I think it's gonna be better than this year's.
Did you watch Extraordinary?
Not yet.
Okay. I didn't. I have a strange feeling that you'll watch that and will want to save it for a show.
I have every belief that it will be saved for a show.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And we did mention we were thinking of doing Soul next week, but it sounds like we're not.
We are not. I have had a change of soul. I think we'll eventually get to that one because I do want to watch it and I think I do want to talk about it, mostly because we haven't really ever talked about any Pixar's. And this being, again, all I've heard is good things about it. But I have something else that is itching. Movie I've been wanting to watch and I forgot it existed until very recently, and I saw a excellent behind the scenes, and I'm very excited to both watch this movie and talk about the production behind it, because I think. Do
you think I've seen it before?
I do not think you've seen it before.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. Right. Do you typically like to watch movies about dead artists?
I mean, I guess.
Sure.
Technically.
Let me try this one. Do you like watching movies about dead artists that are filmed in the style of their art?
Is this? I never saw The Artist. Is this?
It is not. There is a film we are going to watch. It is streaming on, I believe, Amazon. I think it's also on Hulu. It is called Loving Vincent.
Loving Vincent.
It is
Vincent Price, I'd assume.
It is definitely about Vincent Price. It is Loving Vincent is a story about Vincent van Gogh, and the film is animated, but it's animated by 65,000 some frames of oil painting.
Oh.
The entire film is painted based upon his...
Sure.
It's based on his paintings. It's based on the colors he used. It's based on the stories that he told in letters that he wrote. I am so fascinated by this whole movie.
So you have seen it before?
I have not.
Oh.
I have not. I just, the other day, I was sitting around and I stumbled across, I remembered the movie being made, and I stumbled across, I was actually looking for, there was a movie that was made, I think it's about maybe 2 years old as well, about Van Gogh, but it starred Willem Dafoe, and this movie popped up.
Van Gogh starring Willem Dafoe?
Van Gogh Dafoe. Willem Van Gogh Dafoe. But this movie... At
Eternity's Gate?
That might be it.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, this movie animated in the style, and when you see, I was just struck by it. It is so enchanting and interesting to look at, and the behind the scenes on it is crazy interesting. And I'm looking forward to seeing if this stands up. The only person in the movie that I know off the top of my head is Chris O'Dowd from IT Crowd, and he was in Bridesmaids. He has a bit part in
Cloverfield. Yeah, no,
yes.
you were getting there.
He was in Cloverfield?
Or no, it was a Cloverfield Project. Was that the...
Yeah, that's right. He was in that one. Correct. All right, now I remember.
Is that even it? The whatever.
The Paradox.
The Netflix one.
The
Cloverfield Paradox.
Is that it? The Paradox Project.
Chris O'Dowd.
I don't know. Chris O'Dowd. I like him.
Okay.
Yeah. Loving Vincent.
All right, so come back for that. Also this year, you can look forward to, do we get to our X-Men movie eventually?
Oh!
Is that still out the window?
Oh, we want to do it? We want to do it. No. Let's, I think, I was going to say, okay, you have to cut this out. I was going to say we could do it for February and do Mutant History Month, and then I realized that might not be great.
Whoops, that's month is taken.
Yep. So let's maybe we'll focus maybe March. Wow. Maybe we can march to the mutants. March.
So we've also talked about some sort of, I don't think we've ever done a Kevin Smith technically. I have the list. I've never deleted from it. So if any of these sound familiar.
Literally just watched Mallrats 2 nights ago.
So you might be looking forward to that as well. And I will say, I don't want to do a show on it, but I need some hefty rest of the show discussion about The Hunt and Tenet. So
we can definitely do that.
Look forward to some of that. I'm not going to say when. I don't care when. So
we can probably get to that next week. At least The Hunt. I don't know, man. I tell you, again, we got 45 minutes into Tenet, and both of us were just like, this movie is going nowhere. It's doing nothing, and nothing.
Let's say I just. Much like I forget what I just said this about also, but I'm looking forward to speaking about it in the way I was looking forward to speaking about Han Solo or Solo, a Star Wars story, whatever the thing is called. Anyway, so that's some of what you have to look forward to in 2021. Am I forgetting anything, Matthew?
No.
Okay.
You've gotten it all. Loving Vincent. Streaming
next week.
Hulu, Amazon, check it out.
So come back next week for that and the rest of the year for those. We appreciate all of you, every single one of you.
All of you.
And you can find us, as always, at podcast@bookclubformovies.com or Facebook and Twitter. But again, watch The Social Dilemma.
And while you're at it, head on over to Apple's podcasting. Leave us a review. Like, that would be cool.
People ask for that type of thing.
They do.
I've heard it's good. I don't know if that's still the case. I don't know if the algorithm is...
Look, the reality of the situation is every other podcast out there except for like 5 are garbage. We're amazing. we're not even in my fave 5, but we're in my fave 6.
All right. So come back next week.
I think
I don't have a good sign off.
I like that you
salute.
You saluted. For an audio medium, I think a salute is the right way to exit.
Salute.
I gotta I gotta bye.